Welcome to Inside Politics with Kevin Klein, beyond the headlines, beyond the spin. Straight facts, sharp analysis, and common sense conversation you won't hear anywhere else. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Kevin Klein. Welcome to another edition of Inside Politics. Today, a special edition. We speak with the mayor of Steinbach, Manitoba, Mayor Funk, about healthcare in Manitoba. I've written a few columns about the failure of the NDP and healthcare here in Manitoba, and Mayor Funk reached out because he has different ideas. He has some ideas that might be able to help us. He's being proactive, and after interviewing him, it made me write in a column that you can find in the Winnipeg Sun as well. But I wanted you to have the opportunity to listen in on the entire interview with Mayor Funk from Steinbach, Manitoba, who says they're having a problem getting doctors, but he has an idea how to get some.
We're just short of doctors. We got about 6,000, maybe even more. That was just the last number that I heard, that in our community that do not have a family doctor, right? And so we really need them. And I've met with with Dr. Nickerson from the university, met with Dr. Recruitment from Southern Health, met with Dr. Manitoba. And everyone kind of is kind of saying the same thing, you know. And then Dr. Recruitment said, well, we've increased the amount of residency positions. And I said, that's wonderful. But without increasing the amount of Manitoba students, how are we getting people that are going to stay? Right? I get it. We have IMGs that come in, right? And they get their residency. They might stay for 5 to 10 years, but eventually home calls them back, right? Mm-hmm. Their supports are there, you know, like we had a Dr. Recruitment meal, like all the residents that came this year and last year, we wine and dined them one night last week on Monday night. We had a wonderful time with them. But we had out of the 7 residents that we got, 5 of them are international medical grads, right? So, you know, you talk to them, they're all positive about staying, but they haven't started a family yet. They don't miss mom, dad. They don't have kids that are not meeting grandma and grandpa, right? They don't miss their siblings yet. Like, this is all very new. Fast forward 5 or 10 years from now, and they'll be a real draw for them to go back home. Right?
Do you think they'd actually stay for the 10 years?
You know what? I'm being very optimistic, you know, and hoping that yes, we can get a 10-year commitment from some of these doctors, but really opening up for residency positions without saying, okay, we are taking in more Manitoba students. I think you're just leaving a gap anyways. You're still continuing the gap, right? And we've also talked to Dr. Nickerson about having a stream where you actually have so and so many doctors that are medical students that have committed to family medicine. Now, I know that can change by the end of 4 years or 5, whatever it takes. But I think for the most part, if we can kind of vet them through and look at, okay, we're looking at family rural medicine, you know, or even now I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but let's say you take a university like Brandon, right? So Mayor Fawcett he was able to get his numbers brought up from 6 to 10 of his medical students, right? So that's awesome. But let's say we took those 10 seats and we streamed those 10 seats for family medical doctors that want to practice rural. They're already in a rural setting in Brandon, and that they want to practice rural. So now you could have 2 or 3 from each region, you know, so Thompson, you know, the Flin Flon, Steinbach, Winkler, Brandon. We all have students that are going there, so they're not alone. And then when they are done, they've got their residency position in Steinbach or in Thompson, plus they go back home where their supports are. And I think then we can start really taking care of this whole doctor shortage because those doctors will now stay because they might even eventually specialize, but they'll stay in Manitoba at least because this is where home is and this is where everybody that means something to them is.
So the cost of medical school, though, is quite high.
Yes.
And for a lot of people, you take on a student loan or it's difficult to get a student loan for it. The universities, of course, like taking international students because they can charge more. I agree with your plan, but how do we get somebody, a few students from Steinbach to go? Do you fund their education to have them stay? I always refer to it as the Northern Exposure program where if I don't know if you recall that show, it was in Alaska, fake
Mhm.
Alaskan town that, paid for a doctor and he had to live there for so long. But do you look at maybe helping with funding for the students from Steinbach so that they do stay in the marketplace or make that a part of their program? Because what if you have a year where there's nobody can afford it? Nobody wants to take on the student debt.
Well, you bring a good point up. We haven't actually gone down this line, but yes, there could be budget for that. Maybe we need to talk to our lending institutions and offer them some sort of deal on a mortgage as well, right? And that we could do to all doctors, really,
Hmm.
because if we can have them live in our community, the chances of them staying longer would be way higher as well. But I would be open to helping. It'd be like a scholarship or a bursary, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I couldn't see why we couldn't do that. The city do it or a paracity organization do it, and have that going on. Like we've got the Bethesda Foundation,
Hmm.
right? And they do that already. They do scholarships and bursaries for students going into the medical field. And I don't know why we couldn't come up alongside that with them and match what they're doing so that we can double it, double what kids are doing. But without that going past council, I really I can't speak to that solidly at this point.
Right.
But
I
are
agree.
we open to it? Sure. We're totally open to having that conversation.
A difficult question. Do you find that the province, like, have you approached the province about this concept? Did you talk to anybody within the Manitoba Health to,
Yes, we did.
you
We
did?
talked to Michelle Reedy.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Is that
Yep.
a great name? We and her team, right, team of Dr. Recruitment. Kate, I think her name's Kate. I can't remember her last name.
Right.
But yeah, we had a good talk. And you know what was funny? Me and my counselor Susan Penner, we had this talk with them, and what I found was that they were surprised. Like they never really thought of this whole, family doctor stream, or even using Brandon as a streaming facility to teach and I guess raise up these doctors that will go rural, right? And we said, well, they're doing it in Ontario. Like they have whole schools in Ontario that are just setting up themselves for family practitioners because we have this problem all over Canada.
Yeah.
Every place in Canada does not have enough family doctors. So what we need to do is we need to focus, like let's focus on what the problem is, right? And let's focus on family practitioners at this time. Yeah, so we just want to be part of the solution, right? We don't want to burden anything or make it difficult. We just want to look at, like, there is low hanging fruit whenever you have a crisis. There's low hanging fruit that can make things better right away, and I think this is some of that low hanging fruit. We have Manitoba kids that cannot get into the faculty. They fit in all the criteria. I
Mhm.
know of three. I know one personally, and I know of three others because they all talk, right? They all fit in the criteria, but they one in particular has applied, I think, for a second time or third time. And so why are we not focusing on these local kids?
It's a
Mhm.
creative solution that would have somebody from those communities that would be able to, take the courses, not go into an incredible amount of debt, and return home,
Yeah.
and be able to go home and start a family.
And another thing that I've been working with, I've talked to the arm of DeSalbury, which has got the Vita Hospital, and the arm of St. Anne, which has got the St. Anne Hospital. And I said, what if we became, we became under the Bethesda foundation or the Bethesda umbrella, right? And we rotate doctors through there because the challenge is that a lot of these smaller communities, doctors they lose some of their ability to their credentials, right? Because they don't see as much. And yet you've got Steinbach where we serve a region. So if we rotate doctors through, they would see a lot more cases and a lot more different illnesses and have a lot more experience. But then they're not stuck. They don't have to stay in Vita. They can do 6 weeks in Vita and then they can come back to Steinbach. And we just rotate doctors through there and we become more regional, right? And so that way, if something really bad happens in Vita, we get triage, and then they get okay, it either goes to Steinbach or goes to Health Science Center, right? Like I think that way we would be way better at taking care of the needs of our people and we'd be quicker at responding as well. And plus, I think we could retain doctors better in the smaller hospitals because it's not you're not going there to retire. You can actually you're there, but you've got 6 weeks or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but then you're coming back to Steinbach and you're doing ER and you're seeing everything again, right? So I think those are conversations we should have too.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I spoke to a couple of friends of mine, kids, and they're medical students just finishing up, and we had this conversation about staying somewhere. And what both of them had mentioned that they'd like to work somewhere where they have state-of-the-art equipment.
Mhm.
So that they're not just dealing with colds and flus or minor things. They do want to hone their skills. They do want to be able to use the latest technology because in some cases they're trained on that, but they never
Mhm.
get to use that. And they want to be, more engaged in the health of a patient rather than, again, just being what the family doctor was, several years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that plan would address that for a lot of these students because right now it's HSC.
I would really like to see that we actually provide healthcare for our region, right? Because when you look at Steinbach, I just want to like we have about 120,000 people in the Southeast, maybe a little bit more, right? And I would like to be a solution for all of them to have excellent healthcare, right? It's
Yeah.
not like I'm trying to go beyond Steinbach in this one. When we look at Steinbach becoming a um, more of a teaching center or where doctors can be rotated through to the smaller centers that are just adjacent to us, right? And that we can, like you say, but everyone gets healthcare then, right? It's healthcare for all. That's what we want to see.
So more of a regional approach as opposed to trying to find doctors for every community that we have in Manitoba, which is impossible, which will
It
never
is. Yeah.
happen. It will never happen. But if
Yeah.
we, like you're saying, if you have centers of excellence and these centers of excellence are regional, then at least we have the ability to give the medical people, the students that are coming out, an opportunity to grow their skills and work on the best equipment and be engaged in many health issues.
Yeah.
I think it's another wonderful solution. But and have you approached the agency or the minister's office to start having that conversation and open up the dialogue
We have. It's just very hard to get any response at this time.
from the minister's office?
Yeah, so we're gonna go through the deputy minister. I was talking with a couple of MLAs on a few weeks ago, and he said, "Well, you should just do everything through the deputy. They're easier to get a hold of, and they contact you back better. And the only time it will go to the ministers if money's needed anyway. So just work through the deputy. That's what I've
Really?
been told. Yeah,
Well, then we're paying politicians far too much money. Sorry.
obviously.
You're one, I was one. They should be, you would think they would be more engaged in the solutions the creative solutions that are coming out, because it's obvious we're never going to go back to the way it was.
No,
And we're never going to solve this problem doing the same thing. It wasn't that Einstein that said the definition of stupidity was doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
exactly.
And that's really kind of the wheel that we're stuck on right now. I think you've proposed two very creative solutions. I especially support the one of saying Manitoba students in the Manitoba schools first. I think that that's a priority. And I think coming from and holding a seat for the different communities is brilliant. And then going that next step to have a regional hospital, but a center of excellence. I think that's brilliant.
Okay, well, thank you. And these are just some of the things we've been like in last 2024 February, I put a mayor's task force together, and I had four doctors on there, two counselors. I had our economic development and someone from our chamber on there, and they came up with some solutions. Now, some of these solutions we've tweaked. Like when I read this, I said, well, okay, if this is the case, why don't we work with St. Anne and Vita as well? Like, and so like we've tweaked some of those original recommendations to come down to the two or three we have now that we're working on.
But you're taking action, and I congratulate you for that. I thank you for that. The task force, I think, is a brilliant idea, and you're looking for a solution, and that's really, I believe, what we're missing is we're not looking for a solution. We're just hoping and praying that doctors will come here, and we're doing lots of advertising in different places. We did some advertising apparently in the U.S. thinking doctors would leave because of Trump, but Trump's only there for a few years. I don't know how we get them up here. So I don't know if those are the answers. I don't think those work. I think we have to find creative solutions like you're suggesting.
It to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Make room for them,
Yeah.
and if they want to go to family medicine, you can even put them in a separate school, family medicine. Here we go. You guys are rural doctors.
Yeah.
We're going to train you up to be rural doctors. And then I think it's up to the community to say, okay, we want you. And this is how we're going to show you we want you. We're going to help you with housing. We're going to help you with childcare, right? Like what is a big thing? Like
Mhm.
let's put up a that's another thing we've talked to our Bethesda Foundation, which does healthcare projects for us, and they negotiate with the province. Wonderful community organization to have. We've talked to them about like a daycare facility for professional people, right? I said it can make it a little more high end, but these will be doctors or nurses dropping their children off and then going over this across the street to the clinic. How handy would that be,
Hmm.
right? And so those are also conversations we're at. Matter of fact, at 4 o'clock today, I'm meeting with the chair of Bethesda Foundation,
Nice.
to discuss this a little further,
Yeah.
And so, like, I just think that, and if you know what, if if it helps to have like they have the land, but let's say if it helps to have seed money, like let's say the building is $3 million and we give you 10%. Let's do it. You
Yeah.
know, let's put that $300,000 down. Let's give 10% to the Bethesda Foundation. Let's get this built,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Like,
it's an investment.
yes.
It's an investment into your community that will pay dividends for years and years to come.
And if we can have childcare that is set up across the clinic and moms come in, take their kids, or dads bring their kids to the daycare, walk across to the clinic into the day. They only have a walk to go get their kids. I think it's a win-win for the community.
I agree, and you're in business, and I've been in business for a long time, still am now. And and
Yeah,
and when you can offer these types of benefits,
yeah,
rewards for staff, that is more attractive than the salary in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases,
yeah,
I've seen that more and more. Daycare is a problem. So if you can set that up for healthcare professionals, we know that that's a big concern. We have an aging population. We're short doctors, Steinbach everywhere else. We're short nurses in a lot of places. Again, so if we do these things, it's an investment into improving our healthcare, as you said, as opposed to throwing it out the window to advertise. Or you're hiring private nurses and you're paying a lot more than you would for your own nurses. They go to private organizations because they get better benefits in some way. So figure out what that is and provide better benefits. You know,
Yeah.
it's a game, but you got to play that game if you want the best staff. Google, right? Google has childcare for every employee they have. They just bring them to work.
Yeah.
Apple, the exact same thing. Tesla, same thing, right? That's why they get the best and brightest, is because they have some of these perks, benefits. And I think that that's a very important thing. I hope that works out. Hope that's something that falls through because I think that is something that all across Canada they should be looking at.
I totally agree. Yeah. So
Well,
anyways, I just wanted to say, your article really got my attention. And I wanted to just share a few things we're doing too, and how hard we're working at it. It's not, we're not doing it to be, oh, Steinbach City Council. No, this is about the people of our region, right? It goes beyond Steinbach, because I've got relatives in all the RMs that are touching us, right? And I want them to be taken care of as well.
good for you. Well, I think what you're doing is fantastic, and I hope the minister and even the premier pays attention to it, to be honest. This is everyone likes to do studies and such. I think just get to work. You want to call
Yeah.
this a study, call it a study. If that's what you want, call it that. But let's get started on it and get moving forward. I think it's a great idea. I applaud you. It's a very, very good approach, and even thinking about how to make it more attractive for health professionals to live in Steinbach through the daycare or whatever that might be, is these are the things that we need. These are the things that should be happening that are different and creative solutions that will probably fix the problem. Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Take
Take
care.
care. So
Bye-bye.
nice seeing you. Take care.
Nice seeing
Thanks
you
for
too.
watching Inside Politics with Kevin Klein. Please like and subscribe to this channel and visit thewinnipegssun.com for more.